Scope for planning. Now, planning is nothing but something that gives you future course of action, idea about the future course of action. It tells you what you're going to do or what you want to do. And using the scope of planning, I mean, you understand what it can do, what it can achieve. First thing, it can give you an idea of the future, that is for either repetitive or non-repetitive operations. So you could have new operations, you could have operations or things that keep happening regularly which are nothing but repetitive. You could have a one-time operation, so you have both repetitive and non-repetitive. Second thing is, it helps you set objectives. So what are the things you want to achieve? Standing plans, plans that are there permanently, or master plans, great plans. So these are things that are there in the scope of planning. Now, what are the things a good plan should have? Now, even a normal plan that you have, what are the things that you would like to have it, or what sort of qualities would you want the plan to have? First thing, it should be simple. If it's simple, then it makes it clear, and it should be accurate as well. Those are some of the things that we're talking about. One is clearly defined objectives. What is it that you want to achieve? If you're not sure, then the people who are carrying forward the activities will never be sure. Simple is something that we talked about. Rational, appropriate. It must be flexible and balanced. What do you mean by flexible? One, the plan should be too rigid that you cannot change it. Second thing is the fact that you have a plan A, plan B, plan C. So if plan A fails, you can jump to plan B. If there's an eventuality even in that, what is it that you have in plan C? If there's a situation for an organization where they have to exit a particular operation, what is it they have to do? So planning actually gives people an insight. And that is why people look at planning as something that is very useful, because planning is very expensive. And if you're going to carry forward the act of planning, make sure that it really counts for the organization. What are the limitations? Forecast, we do not know. We're just planning based on the assumptions of what is there now, and inflexibility in administration. So sometimes if you have a plan and if you stick only to the plan, you might also find it to be difficult. So the same flexible becomes inflexible or rigid if the plan itself is very rigid. Policy and its meaning. So what is a policy? We saw in the diagram what a policy is. Now, policy is a verbal, written or implied overall guide setting up boundaries. So if you have a policy, it is like a guideline for management. It tells you what are the things or within which area you can actually function. So it gives you a framework. For example, if I say we have a first come first serve policy, the people who come in first receive the gifts or receive the tickets or receive whatever, and that is nothing but the first come first serve policy. Now, how is it that you're going to operate could be based on your specific procedure which you're going to look at. So it gives you the method of choosing. When you say first come first serve, does it mean the person who books online first, or does it mean the person who physically comes to the location first, or is it the first person who calls over the phone? It doesn't specify. The policy only says first come first serve. So that is an overall guideline, or a policy is something that sets boundaries, so within which you can operate or within which you can really manage your stuff. So specific guidelines or constraints, and it can help. What are the things in policy formulation? Ensure that there will be no deviation from planned course of action. So you have a particular policy to prevent deviations, and you have consistency of action. So every time you do have a policy, people know that there is a policy in place, so they cannot cross the limit. So these are some of the things that are to do with policy. Policy is not the exact way of doing things, it is only a guideline or a boundary within which you need to make your decision. That is policy. What are the classifications of policies? One, based on the source. So it could be an external policy, something that the government or something that the market has, or something that is there within your own organization. Then you can have based on functions, so production, financial, credit, and marketing and things like that. So based on your function. Also what you have is based on level, simple policies, general policies, department policies. So you have a policy for a given department which is similar to function, and then you have a general policy which applies to everybody, and you have basic policies which exist in almost all the organizations.